With the frustration we have from Friday night, I do know this. Buster Faulkner understands Kirby Smart's defense. I'm going to say it over and over and over again. We continually have an issue with taking on a +1 quarterback. Honestly, that's the reason why Marcel Reed and Texas A&M bother me if they beat Texas this evening. But I just wanted to show you real quick just one play of the many that I'm breaking down currently. But I had to get this one out here because this is where, to me, Buster Faulkner exploits a loophole in Coach Smart's defense based off what he knows he's going to get out of this. So what I want you to pay attention to real quick is if you look to the left side, you can see just barely off the screen, one receiver, two receivers. Now, I know right now it's a bastard formation because what I see over on the right-hand side is a H-back off the line of scrimmage with two backs. So that means those two wide receivers have to both be on the line of scrimmage in order for them to make everything eligible here. But the one thing about it is the inside receiver that Daniel Harris has covered up right now, all right, he is ineligible, which means he can't do anything other than block. Okay, so we're going to set this play in motion, and as they run a laser motion out, now they show fast screen look, which is leopard out left, all right? Because right now we have both of our corners across in what I call pansy, because when you have nothing on the backside but a nub, I would pansy that over, which is just a pansy was just a word I gave to a bastard formation where you really had nothing but something on the backside like a slot or just a tight nub or something where you wanted to bring the DB over to play your primary two receivers. But all they're doing right here is occupying 2 with 2. So you got your two corners, one removed from the other side who really needs to be there. Because what we run right here out of this is we run basically rocket, Q, counter. Okay, or Q ghost left because we're pulling guard and H back. So there's no eligible receiver to the backside of this nub. That's why you see no defender outside basically the tackle right now, except for our defensive end, which is Damon Wilson. But the person who needs to stay in the box for this is Smile Munden, all right? Because of him having a two linebacker layer, the only thing that they can do to this is they start to run this. You can see play side, Dan Jackson's coming downhill because if they run fast screen right there, it'd be completely legit. There would be nothing wrong with that. But we've got a cornerback covering a number 2 receiver that can't run a route. Okay, so to me, I would almost move and put your linebacker out there because they stayed in a 3-4 a lot. They didn't run a lot of nickel, and I think that has something to do with their defensive line being hurt. I see more 3-4. They stayed in 3-4, and it really, to me, bothered me because it put us in stressors that we didn't need to be in. Okay, so now you got Jalon Walker to the trips who could help be an inside push. They're going to bring him off the edge. You got 3 covering 3, but you have nothing for that jet. What I would have done right here is run this again and just handed it to the running back right here and let him outrun Smile, all right? But what we've got to do out of this is you just basically go 0 covers to this. There was something that you have to adapt one way or the other where you run Malaki downhill to the jet guy coming across that's going out to the right hash right now, number 11. But you see who's responsible for him in this? It's our inside linebacker who needs to be in the hole right here for the ghost power for your Q. All right, so let's look at the front. All right, what I see here is Brinson, and I believe that's John Jarrett. All right, what you always talk about is the play side tackle and guard being able to move that double team. Well, we've got it looks like an inside stunt. And they drive him all the way down 3 gaps across the center. That's not good. So he's taking himself out of the play instead of driving straight ahead. And I guess he's going there because it looks like we have a stunt coming off the edge with Shambliss and with Jalon. But what that does right here is that allows that basically that hole, that B gap, to be more or less gone. It's evacuated. Shambliss can blow up that damn guard all day long and wrong shoulder it like he does right here. But we have nobody inside of that. So think about it. If John Jarrett actually takes on that double team in that hole and doesn't get driven across 2 gaps, he's sitting right there in that V. Y'all see that V where that lineman's sitting looking to his right? That's where our 3 technique would be sitting. Okay? But because he gets driven across 2 gaps, Obviously, it looks like Warren Brinson's being driven down, which he should. He's taking on a double team too. Chaz Shamlis takes on the guard pulling for the flathead. You've got Jalon trying to fit outside as well. And CJ is where he needs to be. That is where he should fit. Play side linebacker is right off that flathead by your end. Okay? But you see who's missing in this equation? Smile has taken off running to go get the jet back. Okay? Because there's nobody for him. Honestly, the way I look at this is that as time goes on, you make an adjustment. If they found a loophole in you, is you keep Smile in the box to attack the Q counter, and you let your free safety run and go get that jet back, and that's all you've got for it. Or either you don't bring your corner over to take care of a number 2 receiver who's ineligible right now. Okay, so that's where a lot of this is exploited. This is Buster Faulkner taking advantage of Kirby Smart's defense in a situation and knowing what he's got to this. Honestly, he could have handed this ball off to 11, but pulling right here, I want you to watch this opening right now. Look at that freaking hole. You think I could run through that? I'm 50 years old. There's no way that I would have been stopped right there. I'd have taken Malaki head on too. But that's when you have a 3 technique who gets driven down, and it's because of the stunt. All right, our fits are good. CJ is where he needs to be at. But just think, if Smile is fitting over the top, because I don't understand, to me, I read guards. So if my guard pulls over the top of me, see where Smile's lined up at right inside linebacker, my guard pulls across the center's face. I'm over the top of that double team that's getting driven out right now. The Josh Jarrett's being driven. You're supposed to fit over the top of the double team and fit right in that hole. Okay? You follow your guards. But for some odd reason, they're in some type of man because Smile's running with him like he's got him man-to-man. So, again, Buster Faulkner taking advantage of taking a linebacker out of the stress of the double team coming across for Q power, and you've got nothing for that, and now you're one-on-one with a safety. This is just good offensive play calling scheme against our defense right here, and was what many frustrations we were having to not only be able to stop the run, but being out schemed on the run as well. So I'm going to show you this full speed. But you can watch our 3 technique, Josh Jarrett get driven down across the 2 gaps. Smile fits outside for the jet, and look at that hole. I'm going to show you why it's so difficult to defend a +1 quarterback inside the red zone when you've gone 0 and you're going match to it. So, right now they've panned over this. You just now got your linebacker play side removed to the F back. So he's taking care of this guy right here has the running back who's sitting here off screen right now. Daniel Harris has the number 2 receiver. Dan Jackson has the number 3 receiver. Malaki has number 2. And I believe that's KJ Bolden out there has the number 1. Okay. Now you get motion, and our linebacker is still just now getting out there to it. So as you motion that across, what Daniel's saying to Dan Jackson right now is, hey, get your ass over there. You got to take number 3 now, because this guy, and this guy are our zone defenders. They are taking care of the run out of this situation. So to me, you're already stressed because you've only got really a 1 high linebacker crew here, because what they're going to do out of this is do a lot of motioning. So when they go across, that's the reason why Dan, not realizing it too late, gets across over here to this side to take care of the number 3 receiver. And him and Malaki have got to communicate who is what. If I'm these 5 guys right here, I don't give a shit what's going on around me. I'm taking care of what's in my box. All right. These guys have got to make that adjustment. Now, as Dan goes across, and they're seeing this, now Dan should have number 3. Malachi's got number 2. KJ has number 1. But then you're going to get motioning back across so they can run the jet action out of this. So what they're wanting to do is you've got to exchange, all right? He's got to take number 2 that shows that's the jet back in motion, and Dan's eyes now have got to go to number 3. So before the balls even snap, the safeties, realistically, the safety and the extra corner have to have made 3 adjustments before the ball's even snapped. And that, to me, causes a lot of distractions when you're trying to just read and play football. Okay? So Daniel Harris, Smile Mondon, Dan Jackson have all had to make adjustments right out of the gate. But all I see is Buster Faulkner, being the guy he is with a quarterback that can run the football, to remove one of your linebackers out of the box, only have one linebacker in the box, and let's run power off the jet action. Actually, he's not even running power. He is running straight counter tray out of this. So he's pulling the guard and the tackle and letting the tight end stay back to take care of the end. Now, I will say this, if you rewind this, I do like what I'm seeing up front. But the problem is because of the down blocks, it makes it very easy for the guard and the tackle to pull up to the play side linebacker because there's nobody there for it. So let's rewind this real quick and we talk about what we would get right here out of this. Because your guard is pulling, he's going to take care of the first threat outside of that tackle. He should be skip pulling to the play side. So you can see why not having that extra backer that would be sitting right here would be helpful to us. Plus, you've got these guys running out. Because a lot of people say, well, Dan Jackson could have helped right there, but he was coming across. Dan Jackson has a responsibility right here because Daniel Harris has the jetback who's going in motion coming across here as well. So all these guys are occupied by man-to-man situations. So it's really up to these 5 guys. So as the ball is snapped, you can see the down by these 3. All right. He should be getting up inside, which he does. And we feel like we've got a slip here, but here comes the guard to kick him out. Now your tackle is rolling up. And because there's only one linebacker, this tackle doesn't have to go to the backside guy for this guy to fill to. Hell, he just takes him. And this guy, when he skip pulls, he has really nobody to go to. So he ends up going outside of the down block, taking care of our outside linebacker who's doing nothing but guarding grass. And, Haynes, but I'm just going to say that this is the reason why it is so tough to be disciplined when you've got, okay, we're going to remove a backer pre-snap. We're going to motion across to see where we're in. They know that they're obviously rotating it with the safeties right here. Haynes is probably a smart kid who understands that. So you've got this rotation right here. Now he goes back in motion, so they're going to have to rotate back across. You've got 5 guys to stop this, and you've got plus 1 quarterback who knows how to run this and does a great job of setting up his blocks, making us look foolish. Guys, this is the play of the game, and it's not even our offense scoring. 5 minutes to go in the game, we're down 27-13. This is a 3rd and 1 play. More than likely, they get the 2-minute warning after this. They get the first down. I don't think we see the ball again, honestly, to tell you the truth, the way they run the clock out. But what they're doing now is you got trips. So you've got Lucky with a right tight. So you got just your tight end on this side right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull my drawing tool up so you can see it. You just have one receiver to this side, and I think what they've done is locked down in 0 because I don't see anything high. So they're basically playing all or not right here. When Dan Jackson gets motion, that's a switch off. But they're only bringing this H-back down inside to run. They're going to run the Q power right here. So they're bringing him back down inside to be the skip puller, and he's going to be the kick out guy. And we're going to fake toss the pitch here, which we have somebody for that. And we're just going to try to get it up inside. It's a good play call. But I want you to watch, obviously, Dan Jackson here. There's a difference when you have someone who is at 100 miles a minute trying to get to the football. I've always said you want to arrive under control. But when it comes down to business, once you've committed to your alley, that you don't let up here. And I know a lot of Georgia Tech fans were giving me this hard time about this was a targeting call. For the first time ever, the one thing that I worry about is a cervical spine injury. I wish he would bring the hat up a little bit, but he puts his hat right in the V of the neck of that. I can't help it that Haynes King ducks his head. His helmet's hitting the face mask of the front side of his helmet because he's lowered his head. But he has put his hat right in the V of the neck, right where the ball is at. And that's the reason why Haynes King drops this football. But again, I'm going to back it up just a little bit here and let you just see the path that he takes to this. So as we get to it, he comes up, comes down, boom, right there. There's the hat. There's Dan Jackson's hat. There is no targeting here. It is a good, solid strike. Only thing I wish is that Dan would just have his head up a little bit to see what he's putting his face mask into. But when you put your hat on the ball like that, good things happen to you. And what's funny is the ball right now is on the ground laying between Nazir Stackhouse's legs. He sees his quarterback hit so hard he doesn't even realize that the ball is sitting right here. So kudos. Chaz is the only one low enough, I think, and that's why he sees the ball first. But kudos for him for jumping on the football. Like he looks and realizes, holy crap, he don't have the ball. He turns around and him and Stackhouse jump on it before this guy realizes it's there. Guys, this is huge. Huge, as we know. It was the turnaround of the game and let us get back into it and what obviously led to the 8 overtime win. So many good things can happen to you in a ball game, and that's the reason why being a game of inches, you have to always be ready. And sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're sitting there celebrating when we should be picking the ball up and running it back for a scoop and score. But this is just unbelievable, relentless pressure and pursuit and putting your hat on the ball to cause the fumble and get the ball back for our Dogs to go in and score to tie it up before regulation's out. Good stuff, 17. You're going to bring a blitz from the field because they're going to bring Dirty Dan down and bring him on a blitz. So everybody else is locked up. So you're going to get 6-man pressure. You're going to have the outside corner will take care of the guy that's off screen. We've got this right here. We've got this right here. We're bringing Dirty Dan down and bringing him on a pressure, slanting him down, bringing him off the edge. So that means CJ would be free. He's the only one. He's basically responsible for the quarterback. You got Smile to take care of the running back. And Dalen Evans got this tight end right here. And the tight end is who actually makes the play. And, it's just, it comes down to it. It's just Dalen not having good eye discipline right here because he thinks he's blocking. So if my man blocks, typically what happens is you become a free defender. You're able to help blitz, cause pressure, do whatever you need to do in order to play good football. So Dalen comes downhill thinking, basically I'm going to come downhill because I'm thinking he's pass proing right here. And all of a sudden this is just a tight end dump. We've got this covered up pretty good. Smiles got running back covered up pretty good. Dirty Dan's going to get through, but it's too late. Dalen has come downhill to attack and then realized at the last second, oh crap, my tight end's releasing on a delay. It just seems to me they had our number because it doesn't make sense to me why we would have a 5-man box to take on the ability of a +1 quarterback when we show toss sweep action that moves a linebacker out of place to run the quarterback counter trade coming back to us. So what we're going to get in this is you're going to get basically he's got to stay head on. You're going to get a down block that should be working to the backside backer. He's going to be working up inside to the backside backer. This guard should be kicking out this guy. Tackle should be wrapping to the play side backer. And I know we're in zone across the top because with the motion by the number 2 receiver coming back down inside to run the jet action, we don't move with it. So we're basically, it looks like in a cover 4 here with, you're going to have run support with your safeties in cover 4. They should be a run support defender in this. You're going to get your H and your Y showing this jet action because, he is reading this, I would think, to give to the short side of the field. And we have that to take care of this downhill. We also have a safety to fit. I do not understand. I'm going to erase all this real quick. I do not understand why we're getting so bent up with our linebacker trying to get to the jet. So, to me, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you've got 2 for this. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 to take care of the jet if he hands it off. And I've got these 5 guys to try to take care of the power if he runs it. And I saw it too much where Buster Faulkner, the OC for Georgia Tech, was just removing our inside linebacker play. And in this case, you get the same situation. CJ Allen runs out with the jet action. And Haynes King does not hand off here. He decides to keep, and he's going to come back, to the play side. Now, Warren Brinson, I'm going to say this. I'm going to rewind real quick. This is a hard block for a center to try to block back on a 3 technique, or in this case, he's actually all the way out in front of the tackle. He's head up, so you got a 4 technique on top of the tackle. This is a long way to go get a back block where you got a down back because the guard and the tackle are pulling right here, because these 2 guys are committed to the jet sweep coming across. So that is a tough block, and Warren does make it tough. But these 2 guys are being taken care of by these 3. Warren almost gets there because it's hard for that center to block all the way back. If Warren could have squeezed it a little bit and been on the front side of him, I think we have a play in the backfield. But he is just off by a tad hair. Can't get his hands on. And now CJ is removed. Our linebacker is just running up into space here, trying to fit because of the flat head by the guard. And now the tackle wraps outside. The only other person we've got for run support is our backside safety, KJ Bolden, who's trying to fit from 10 to 12 yards coming downhill. Here's your other backer that should be fitting on the inside leverage with him fitting outside leverage right here. And there's nobody for that. He ends up getting off the tackle and getting a good solid run out of this. But, I continue to just wonder if this is scheme versus the fact of we're being a little undisciplined and taking off with a jet back when we shouldn't. And now you've only got 4 guys right here trying to defend a QB counter tray. With, like I said, Warren Brinson is the only one that gives a little bit of havoc to this, but he's able to be outran. And like I said, a good run play by Georgia Tech there. I don't see how we have some broken coverage issues and we have plays where Buster Faulkner exploits us because of what we've got personnel wise out there. But when you bring 6-man pressure, that means you've only got 5 guys left to cover 5. So in this case scenario, we've got trips to our left. We've got a tight end that's nubbed on this side over Chambliss. And then you got your running back. So obviously C.J. Allen is going to cover number 11. You got Dalen Everett for the tight end. You've got everybody lined up on the left-hand side that should be bringing man right here. But I don't understand why we don't have the number 3 receiver covered here, because what's going to happen, I think, the way we're showing, because CJ is going wide to take the running back. I see Dalen Everett covering the tight end. Dan's running with an out route number 2. Daniel Harris is over the top of the receiver. Why the number 3, or why we're not covering this guy, is I'm thinking, are we in cover 3 here versus cover 1? So we are. So in this case scenario, I think we're going to a cover 3 look is what we look like we're going to, because we don't have anybody for the inside hitch hook curl, because we're bringing 6-man pressure. So that obviously puts 5 people in coverage. When we're showing a cover 3, Dan Jackson is downhill on the left-hand side being your flat force defender. You've got Dalen Everett, Daniel Harris, and Malaki Starks as your cover 3, and you've got your one backer that's not going, C.J. Allen, as your middle hook curl defender on the right-hand side. But, when you run into trips right here, it's kind of tough when you bring the backer on this play side and the outside linebacker for the 6-man pressure. I mean, if this is just not a perfect call to run the check down option to your number 3 receiver where everybody came from. Look at where Smile comes from. Look at where Jalon comes from. And you're hoping that you get there before he can make this throw. And even though we get there late, this is not the progression you want, because you run what's called a hot route off of this. And that's what we get in this situation. Perfect play call to our blitz right here. It's very frustrating, but when you blitz, you bring 5 and 6-man pressure. If you run the hot route to it to counter it, this is what can happen, and that's the reason. I honestly don't know why we don't run this more, to tell you the truth. It looks to me like we've got to have trips right, because of I only see the tight end with Daniel Harris sitting there on the hash. So we got trips right, left nub, and they're going to run stretch out of this. Bringing the motion back across is just to help with the stretch play. So you got a guy outside the number, inside the number to the right side. Those are our twins that are left. So on the left side, you've got the tight end with a guy that's coming across in motion. And this is out of pistol, and they're going to run what's called stretch. This is what most people would call outside zone, because if you look at how the linemen are stepping, that's more of a stretch outside zone step than it is actually inside zone. They're trying to get their head across to the as far as they can to one side, and then sit back on their right ass cheeks and take whatever shows into that gap. And, the one thing I see here, the first thing I see, TID and Nazir Stackhouse being cut. You know how many times they work on the cut drill in practice? Every day. I'm sure they work on it for at least one series possibly, or one period, a 5-minute period where they're working on technique of getting off the cut block, because those are perfectly legal. Okay, as long as they're not being high-loaded by another person and they get cut like that, all right, that's perfectly legal. So, Warren Brinson play side is one, though, too. His big old ass has finally got to sit down and anchor down a little bit right there in order to make this running back decide to cut. As he continues to get run out like him and Damon both do, they both got to eventually sit down on those big asses and try to, power clean those 2 guys and make this running back make a decision. As long as they're getting run out, the stretch is working perfectly for what you want to do. Well, now since you've got the the center working off of this, getting across because the backside guard cuts our nose, our zero technique. Now we can get the center up to the play side backer. And the only person that's left for this is Smile. Smile's got to make this tackle. And when you've got a missed tackle on stretch and he stays play side to it, that's a big game, because now what you have is 2 for 2. See how you've got the two receivers left, one blocking corner, one blocking safety. That's KJ. And that's looks like Dalen Everett out there. So, that's the difference of this play being a bigger play than not. When you've got two guys that need to sit down on the stretch and make this running back make a decision right now, instead of it can see how they continue to get worked out, so that it continues to elongate his time to be able to cut, and now Smile has to travel a further distance. If those two guys are sitting down and power cleaning those guys right now, sitting down on them and making that running back cut, now Smile has a better advantage point to get to that play. I really don't understand why we don't run this. This is a great play. There's nothing hard about this whatsoever. I know some offensive line coaches would disagree with me on steps by the lineman, but it really is no different than taking wide zone steps to try to get across the face of the next guy to the gap next to you, and then being able to climb. No different from zone and posting off your zone climbs. But I like it for the simple fact that you got a running back that's running straight downhill and having the ability to cut at any time. Because think about it, if Smile was on a blitz right there, or he got cut off by someone, in this case scenario, that's a wide open gap for him to cut back right now off of that, because you can see if Smile was gone, obviously that would be a nice cutback lane for him as well. So stretch is a great play to run. I really don't understand why we don't run it more. But again, we've just got to learn. All right, this is the same play, but they do it out of just a little bit of a different tweak, because he's going to go with a 4-receiver progression on this right here. You're still going to have this guy who is ineligible because you've got trips left, bunch, but there's another guy on the line of scrimmage out wide, so he makes this guy ineligible. So this guy, and the one off the screen are going to run your 3-receiver progression, but you're also going to bring the F back across, because all you're going to show out of this is just a quick jab concept like you're running stretch. These guys are 5-man pass pro, and they've already committed to that. There's no stretch action out of it, no boot action out of it. So what I see here is almost like I see a Roger call, the way the center's moving to the right. And with the back coming across, you've got this progression, and because we've got pressure, we're in cover 3 right here. So we got Dalen Everett now at normal corner position in cover 3. You got Malaki as a free safety. You've got Dan Jackson as a strong safety, which means he's going to be coming downhill to linebacker level. And then you've got Harris out wide. That's your other cover 3 guy. So when you see how C.J. Allen is pushing here, all right, he's pushing to his hook curl because we're bringing 6-man pressure off of this to a cover 3. So it does put stress to you, Mike, but you've also got help to that side, which is nice, because now we're running that 4-man progression. He's running that 4-man progression into our coverage strength, okay? I sit here and see Mykel being held, that's never looked at, never thought about. And I'm going to say something about people with the referees trying to blame them to get, wins. Don't ever put it in the referee's hands, period. I never want to put the game in the referee's hands, no matter how much I hate them, no matter how much they may make the wrong calls at times, it seems, and how it wants to make you pull every living hair out of your head. Do not rely on them to win ball games for you. And as much as I could sit here and whine and gripe and complain about that hook right there, I mean, look at that left arm around Mykel's neck right now, and he don't get that call. I don't think, anyway. We're going to throw it out to the F-back, but because Dan Jackson is coming downhill as a strong safety, he's your force flat defender on that side, and we've got this covered up now. So this is the same Bachelor formation, a little bit of a different concept out of it with a 4-receiver progression. I have to say, this just makes me laugh. They're going to run the same stretch play again, just out of a different formation. It's kind of a, if you want to call it, it's really just split zone off jet action. A lot of misdirection here. But if you notice, they're still trying to cut play side. And the way I'm watching the lineman step is they're just running a type of, outside zone concept of this. And I just call this a stretch play, because of where they're trying to step and hit this is outside the tackle box. But guess what happens? All of a sudden now, Jalon Walker, and they're in a true 3-4. I mean, we're playing more of a 3-4 instead of playing a nickel, just due to the fact of what we've got in the trenches right now, the defensive line position. We're really struggling right now with the injury. Kristen Miller has really caused an issue to our defensive line rotation. But still, though, Jalon Walker doing a great job of setting an edge right here to make our running back make a decision, even though our other 2 guys are still play side linebacker and play side tackler, are kind of in a rut right here. But you got good fits. Look where our fits are at in gaps. I can see why the running back says, oh, shit, I got to go somewhere else. So here's the problem. anytime you're backside of this, look how many guys we've got behind the ball carrier. We've got right now one head up. We got Jaw Jarrett, backside linebacker, and Smile. Looks like Gabe Harris, Chambliss, and is that Dalen Everett? Yeah, Dalen Everett. So when he decides to cut back, we should have three guys pursuing the football on his hip. There is no way that guy should be able to cut back like that against our speed and be able to do this to us. I mean, it's quite hysterical, honestly, to watch something like this with our speed and to see something redirect like this. I mean, this is the reason why a lot of Georgia fans are pulling their hair out, is that when we do fit something correctly in our true 3-4 look right here, and we don't have the ability to pursue. I'm going to say hats off to Haynes King making a great throw and catch right here. What they're going to do is to the deuces right, which are your two receivers to the right, they're going to bring the guy across like they always do to run their laser motion so they can play action off of this. So your yap, which is what I call yap, with a tight end and an H off each other that's on the left side right here. You got your Y and your H. They're going to run kind of a scissors look. So the guy that's down is going to be the one that's going to push vertically first to engage the safety. And you're going to end up running kind of like a, crisscross concept. It's almost kind of like a sluggo where you push the vert to make the safety commit to the corner route and then run the slant, or in this case, the skinny post underneath it. And what happens here, I mean, we've got 8 in coverage. We're running quarters coverage, guys. Free safety and the strong safety are working with their twos. But what you're doing here to the short side of the field is you're putting pressure on Malaki Starks to make you think, okay, I've got to go the corner route. He passes the corner off to Daniel Harris, and he has to do a full 180 to turn back because he knows that he's got this complementing. Once he leaves him, he knows that's his zone. That's Daniel Harris's zone. He's got to turn and take care of the crosser in front of him. So, my thought process is, him being a little aggressive right here. See his read steps downhill immediately. And, I'm thinking to myself, if you've got more depth off of this right here, you're not already turning and running right now because your cushion's broke and you're sitting still in a back pedal over the top of this and you're able to react up to this ball instead of having to be on a 180 right here. Because even if, right now let's say you're back pedaled and you're back beyond the 50, you still got about a 5-yard cushion in a back pedal and it's being passed off now to your corner on the corner route. So, now you're able to, from a still back pedal position, put your foot in the ground and work up instead of being on a 180 turning and going away from the football, which allows the perfect timing for Haynes King to throw that perfect post route to your, in this case, it would be the number 1 receiver, the outside receiver that's at, is off the tight end's position. So just kudos to Haynes King making a great throw. This is a bastard formation that we end up playing better later on in the game, but we're really stuck right now because we're not sure what we want to do with this. What you basically have is you have 3 receivers right here, 1, 2, and 3. This guy is actually ineligible because there is a wider guy out right. All you have on the backside here is a nub tackle. So Dalen Everett is really without a receiver to cover on this side. So I don't know if they've got an automatic fire here for him because he kind of comes on a delayed blitz, but you still got a back that can come out the backside, and I think that's why you see CJ there while they're working across, because this ends up becoming only a 2-receiver progression. You end up getting these 2 guys max protect with your lineman. You only end up getting 2 receivers going out, this guy right here and the one who ends up making the catch who's off the screen. And this is something that I think, you look at KJ Bolden, you look at Daniel Harris, they're going to get better at this as they start to work through and progress this, because as you can see, the ball is snapped. It's kind of a boot action because you're showing sort of a zone left or stretch left, which is good. They've had success with that, so you can see why that pulls everybody. I'm not sure really with Dalen Everett what they're wanting to do with him right here. He ends up taking on the tackle and really becomes a dead player when he could have helped right here off the edge, off of this boot action. But still, nonetheless, the running back, escapes out of there. CJ's on top of that. But you'll notice now we're occupying 2 with that one guy that's pushing in the middle of the field. We got Malaki and KJ on him. Now you'll watch Ja'Cory Thomas, number 20. I don't know where he's looking right now, but his eyes have got to be in better. We talk about having a head on a swivel. His head's got to be on a swivel. He's got to think about it. He's got that one receiver that he tries to reroute, which I'm pretty cool with that, him getting hands-on right there. But as he drops in coverage, he's got to peek that to see where that guy's coming from. If he peeks that a little bit, I don't know what's making him look to the right now. But he's got to peek that. Now, who I'm talking about is number 20. He's just to the right of the Georgia logo on the hash. So I'm not sure what he's peeking at, but if he decides, you know what, I've got an inside cut coming with the, because my head's on a swivel, now that's a harder throwing lane for Haynes King to make. Now Daniel Harris has got to do a better job of closing on this as well. Just because he's in zone coverage right here, he's still got to be able to realize, hey, this is the only guy I've got on my side, and he's just made an in cut. I've got to close on him a lot faster than that. So that's something he's going to get better at as time goes on. I don't really fault him for that. Jacory's not had as many reps out there. And again, you just have a perfect exploitation of a 2-receiver progression to us. And, I want to say that we're in a cover 3 look right here, but I really don't know based off what we've got on the left-hand side. I really don't know, because to me, you should, I see 2 safeties high. I'm thinking you can only be in cover 2, cover 4, or 2 trap. And with him coming off the edge because he's nubbed, Dalen Everett, who I'm speaking of, number 6 on the left-hand side over here, I really don't know what kind of covers. I would assume it's some type of zone covers just because of the way I see everybody moving in space. But, something that KJ maybe not as turned hip on right there, could be seeing the dig coming up underneath that. So it's really a combination of a few players here who are going to learn over time to, adequately learn their space and their kinesthetic awareness of what's going on around them. But still just a good throw and catch. And again,